Welcome to another edition of Northern Heat. My name is Bob Lennon, President of ThermalWood Canada, and a host for the show. And our special guest today, and I mean special guest today, is Al Connelly. And Al, you're a founding member of Glass Tiger, and you're going to be in Bathurst next weekend, and we're all waiting and anxiously to have you in our midst. So welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Bob. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I can't wait till next week. We're looking forward to July 22nd, being down in Bathurst and down by the bay.
Well, and I want to congratulate you and the band officially right now, because this morning I was listening on national news that you're being inducted into the Music Hall of Fame along with a whole bunch of other bands. But the fact that you're part of that group, it's pretty amazing. And congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. No, it really is such an honor to be a part of it. This is their 25th year that they've been doing this Walk of Fame, they call it, but they're calling it the Rock of Fame because there's so many rock bands involved with this one. So we'll be there with the likes of Loverboy, Max Webster, the older Kim Mitchell band, if you will, Lee Aaron, Rough Trade Cowpoke. There's a series of up to 13. And the funny thing about that, Bob, is we've played with most of these bands at one time or another, or we know them from meeting them at shows and talking and having a couple of beers together, maybe after a show.
Well, we talked about that before the interview started, and the fact that you're going to have an opportunity to all get together. And I'm sure the stories are going to come out of things that somebody did, and you're going to have a lot of yucks together for sure.
Well, it was funny because yesterday morning we went on a TV show in the morning, me and Alan in Toronto. And the guy that was doing the interview, his name was Nick, he says, I said, you realize a lot of these different bands that we're going to be with, we kind of know. And I said to him, right, the band Lighthouse is going to be on the bill as well. I said, I was 12 years old, right? When I saw my first concert was Lighthouse. And Nick turns to me, he says, well, I was 12 years old, my first concert when I saw you guys. So it was just kind of a funny, situation. But we're on the latter end of it. We're kind of like the closer to the 80s, and there's bands from the early mid 60s or 70s, I should say, early 70s. So it's a 70s, 80s kind of show that's coming up at this 25th anniversary.
So, you've toured across Canada through the United States. You've even been to Europe. You've been all around the world. And now you're coming to the Maritimes, but this is not the first time you've been in the Maritimes. And so I guess one of my questions, and I ask this to a lot of people that are on the interview, is that what did you notice? Because you've toured all around. What have you noticed is so special about the Maritimes to come and play?
Well, first of all, it's always the people. They're so engaging. Always, every time we've arrived there, they would open up their homes to you. They would open up, there was always a feeling that you were, just part of the community. And it's that welcoming engagement, I guess, that makes the people in the Maritimes so special, right? And we've been all around the Maritimes. We've been on the islands, of course, Newfoundland and Charlotte, into PEI. It's just a special area of the world. And again, I'm a musician. I notice the music, right?
Yeah, and that's not something that we lack of in the Maritimes. Like everybody, we might not have all these clubs and venues and places to go, but people have house parties, and there's always a number of musicians, and sometimes you end up with full bands there, and they start to play, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and you reminded me of a story because we would go into these places. I think it was with Johnny Reed. We were in 2018. We had just done a CD at that point, reimagined Glass Tiger. We did it. It's called the 31 CD. It's an interesting CD of our own stuff. We did it in Nashville, and when it came up, Johnny said, "Why don't you come across, Canada with me?" And when we got to the Maritimes, I remember being in Moncton and going into this pub, and it was called the Old Triangle Irish Alehouse. And we got these cards because the gentleman there told us you get these cards and it's like a discount. And we're laughing. We go, really? I've never seen that in a pub before. Okay. So we had these cards, got a picture of that, right? And we turned around about maybe half hour later, and all these people with their instruments came in. A Kaylee just broke out. And it was about 6:30 at night, 7. And you had guitars and fiddles and singing. And they were songs that were from the East Coast. And it was it was amazing. It was lovely to hear. and we just had a wonderful time hanging around. And I don't know if that was the place. One of them used to be called Smooth Herman's, but turned into the Irish Alehouse or something like that. Now that connection goes back to when we used to go back there 25, 30 years ago, right? Smooth Herman's was a place that people went to, or the Misty Moon, or something like that, right? So down on the East Coast, whether it's New Brunswick or Nova Scotia, everybody just seems to be lovely people, great to hang with.
Well, you never know where there's going to be somebody's going to pull out an instrument and music is going to break out, and then everybody joins in. It's just one of those things that happen. So we were also talking to the fact that, you know, you're familiar with this region too, because when we were talking about you coming down here, you said, oh yeah, the Bay of Chaleur, and you knew the area and stuff like that. So you've been up in this area before too.
Oh yeah, I remember the beach park, UL Beach Park. I remember that, and I remember the beaches as we came along the coastline. We stopped and had barbecues, and we if we had a day off back in touring, let's say in the '90s or 2000s, we just tour bus would pull over to the side, we get out, get the barbecue out, just gorgeous, gorgeous area of the world, right? And yeah, that again, that's just part of what we did. We would go into town. I remember trying my first, I think it was my first lobster soup in New Glasgow, and it was the most delicious soup I had tried ever, and it was my first, right? And it's not like your first, and so really enjoyed it. And you hear stories. Oh yeah, well down here you can get a lobster sandwich, you can get this and that, on the side of the road. I'm like, what? I don't know. It's not the same back in Ontario, right? That's it's the maritime seafood. We're always looking for the seafood down there when we're down there, because you have to have it, right?
Yeah, well, you talk about that, is that I don't think McDonald's serve lobster rolls in Toronto, but they do here in the Maritimes. So, you can go into McDonald's and order lobster. You can go into Subway and order lobster. And you don't see that in other places, that's for sure.
Would no, that is a unique part of your fabric of the East Coast, right? New Brunswick.
So, the fact that you're coming here and the fact that you guys are getting recognized at the Walk of Fame, or Rock of Fame that they're calling it.
That's Live Nation is part of it. They put Rock of Fame on there, and I guess because a lot of rock bands in there. So,
well, yeah, but the fact that you've been nominated and coming to Bathurst, to our hometown, like we really appreciate that, and I am sure that everybody's going to enjoy the show. It's going to be an outdoor show. So you'll be able to crank up the music and crank up the volume, and people will definitely be following along with all your songs.
Well, we just did a show back here in Ontario, and it was at a Scottish festival, and it was just so amazing and elating to hear the crowd singing all the words to all your songs. Most of the songs are on radios. People don't recognize. At first they go, I know they do that one song, and then they go, oh yeah, don't forget me. And Alan always teases, well, we won't be doing that tonight, but we always do.
Yeah.
And we get into these songs, and everybody's singing every word to it. So it's a lot of fun. And at these types of festivals, I think the same will happen when we get there. I think we'll have a lot of fun.
Well, and the thing too is that you mentioned it, is that you're all coming down here. You're going to be here for a couple of days, but one of your band members, his wife, is coming along, and they plan on staying for a few more days in the region. So, for this is great. It's great to hear that you're even thinking of staying where you're going to be playing.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's like, how often do you get that opportunity, right? So yeah, that was Sam. He said that's what he's going to do. He's going to hang, and I think that's a great thing. When we were there, again, going back to, we don't get always into New Brunswick. We get in and around it. Now we're coming back in. So for us, it's been a few years, right? Really to plant down. But every time we've gone through, going to St. John, or going to Bathurst, or going into Fredericton, or just, finding places we loved to just hang out with the local people and have some fun. What I mean by that is we're usually looking for those Kayleys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Al, I appreciate it, and congratulations to you and the band again for the award. Congratulations, and thank you for making and producing that beautiful music over these couple of decades, and allowing us to enjoy it. And making us feel good about the whole thing. So very much appreciated. And from everybody in Bathurst, I'm telling you right now, they're going to be happy to see you here.
You're far too kind. Thanks so much. We're looking forward to it.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you. So again, looking forward, going to meet you. It's just coming up. It's going to be next weekend. So we're pretty close.
Yeah.
So there we are. Another edition of Northern Heat for this week, the place to come to listen to the stories that you haven't discovered yet.